Yesterday we have discussed about the fact load in your data warehouse, how to get the surrogate keys and load it into the fact table. Then we discussed about multiple flat files as a source, how it can be loaded. Now, in today's chapter, agenda is FTP and pertaining to flat files, then incremental loading strategy. So, when your source is a flat file, as we discussed yesterday, that is in the previous chapter, we have discussed that a source system people will send the flat files with the data. Depending on your requirement, daily they may send, or weekly they may send, or yearly they may send. So flat files with the data will be there. Let's say this is one team A of the source system 1. Based on our requirement and the discussions we had, they have to send you a file every day, file with the data. As we discussed in yesterday's chapter, the names of the file will be hard-coded. But every day they will be sending you the file. Every day they will be sending you the file. So how they send the file? This is your integration server. Or service. So they will keep the file on your machine, for which you have to provide this Informatica server. Let me call this server as 1, INF server 1. So we'll provide INF1 machine name or host name or the IP address, username to access, password to access that machine, and the path and the directory will provide them to the source system 1 people. So every day they will create files and they send these files onto the integration server with the mechanism called file transfer protocol. The terminology we use generally is FTP, file transfer protocol. So from the source loading to this, from the system, they will send the file to this path and you save the file here. They will keep the file, you have to give the permissions for them, then they will keep every day FTP the file onto this integration server and the file will be on this machine every day. So as per our requirement, our path we have given as, let's assume we have given as INF server, SRC files. So they will keep the file here every day. Let's say our file is employees_east.txt file, which they will send the file to this path every day. Let's say 10th January 2005, as data with that file has been sent to that our server. So we kept that file. Then using our session case study 6.5 session, we extracted the data from this file, loaded into staging. Before you load, you deleted the data in the staging area. Then next day, they have sent another file file name didn't change. Only the file with the data will be different. Let's say this team sends the file to you through FTP. But where will we keep the file? The path is hard-coded, means same path they have to put, and the file name is the same as previous. So, two things. In this path, they will try to put the file again with est.txt file, but the data in this, it will contain 11th January data, for example. So you send the file onto this integration server. On this, then the challenge is file name will not change. Every day the same file name will come onto the machine. But you cannot put the same files with the same name on the same directory. You can put it in a different directory, but you cannot put the same file name in the same directory. But we need to put it in the same directory because we have given the path as path is hard-coded in our session properties. The file name is hard-coded, but our file is coming with the same name. That is the challenge. File will come with the same name. We need it with the same name because we have to put it in the same path because we have already set up in the session properties. Every day in the production environment, you cannot change the path. You have to do something which is automized. So what they do? The mechanism is, let's say you have put the 10th January 2005 files of employee est_text file under the path c:\inf server. How did this file came onto this path? By the FTP connection which you have provided to the source 1 team. So file name will not change, data may change. So 10th January data comes into this and puts you in the path. Step 2, you execute the session. So as per your session, it will extract the data from this file and loads the data. In our case study 5. Then, if next day comes, it will come with the same file name. So what they do in projects? What exactly they do in projects is they will create one backup directory, one path like c:\backup. One time they will create it. Then after the session is completed, they will move the file onto the backup directory. Move the file onto the backup directory. Move this emp_est.txt file. Move the file onto the backup directory. So next time that file will not be there in that path. So then 11th January data will come. File with 11th January data will come next day. And they will FTP that onto this path. They will FTP it onto this path. Now session is executed. Then we will move the file onto the backup directory. But backup directory will contain with the previous same file name. Because our same file you have on the same backup directory. So what they do? So they move the file to the backup directory in the first step itself. Here in the fourth step, they'll move the file to the backup directory and rename the file like e_est east underscore sys date and time. They'll put a sys date and time dot text. So after they move the file into the backup directory, they will rename the file. So every day when they move the file into the backup directory, it will rename to a same file with a sys date and time. So next time when you move the file, again emp underscore est will be moved this file into this path of backup directory. Then rename that file to est underscore sys date and time dot text. So it will move the file and rename it. This is how they do it in projects. So after the session is completed, they'll move the file to the backup directory. Then they rename that file. Are you with me, please? Flat files as a source. When you do it, you have to keep this mechanism, because every day the file with the same name and the path is the same name. So you have to create it. This is done in the production environment of the projects. But Sita, Rupali, are you with me? How to do it? I'll give that explanation. Why they keep the backup is, this data is coming from some other team. So in projects, for our safety, that is BIDW team safety, we will keep a backup of those files, because tomorrow they may say that we have sent you the file, you may not have that file. I'm talking about politics in a project. Politics in a project. They may say that we have sent the correct data, you messed up with the file, or they may say that we have sent you, why didn't you receive it? There will be many issues of politics in the projects. So as basically you have to save yourself. I'm telling you, in a real world, you have to save yourself, so we keep a backup of it and rename it and keep it there. Because after 1 month, we may have a problem that 11th January data was not loaded, was incorrect. Some end user may say. So we can open this file and show them, boss, this is the file which we have loaded. So we have it in the backup directory. That is the reason they keep it in the backup. Are you with me? How many files do we keep? They'll keep and refresh the files at the time. After 6 months or 1 year, they'll remove the files. Sometimes the files may be with huge data, and if you keep on keeping in the backup directory, it will take long, it will start taking more time. So what they do in projects is, they will rename this file. Then another step they do, they zip the file. They zip the file and keep it in the backup directory. Yeah. In interviews, people ask you, say 6 months, we keep it. Some people keep 6 months, some people keep only for 1 month. It depends on the server capacity, people, many issues, many politics will come into picture. A lot of people hate politics, but everything is politics. If you want in a very, very clear language, these all things you do is to save yourself. Now coming back to the class, of this subject. Now to do this process, after the session is executed, move the file into the backup directory, rename the file in the backup directory. This process can be done. If it is not done, this is operating system level process, this is. So what they do in projects, I'm giving you the knowledge base, please. I don't have the example for this. So what they do in projects is, this process of moving the file or copy the file into the backup directory, then rename the file and zip the file. It all depends on them. This is written in if your Informatica is installed on Unix, then it is written in a shell script. If it is Windows, we write a DOS command. So in this commands, you will write this program. DOS command or shell script, you write this program of move the file to the backup directory, rename the file. You write this program in a DOS command or a shell script. For sample, I show you. It is just to give you the knowledge about it. I didn't incorporate in my lab practices and all that stuff. So just for your knowledge sake, I'll show you this. Are you able to hear me now? Is it clear? Kasim, is it clear for you? I'm speaking. Wait a minute. Yeah, Yasin. Now it is clear?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, now it is clear, yes.
Okay, fine. So coming to the class, we will write this type of programs. This is a DOS command program. Just a sample I've shown you. So it will take the file. I put copy here, but actually they move the file, copy the file or move the file from this to the backup directory. This is all done in the Informatica server, please. It is on integration server machine. So, and change the directory to the backup, then rename the file. This is the logic. So move the file. You should know DOS commands or shell scripts. Change the directory to backup directory, rename the file, and do this. So just I simply execute this and show you the backup directory. So please hold on for the minute. I'll execute from the Windows only. So this is your backup directory. It is not having any file. So this command task bat file will copy the file to that backup directory. It renames, but this is not working. But just it will copy the file into the backup directory. That's what I want to show you. To see this file, it has renamed the file, but the problem is it has renamed after the .text file. It has to be before the .text file. Then you have to do some more programming. I hope you are able to see this. So this is the file which it has opened. This is the file which it has opened. I have opened up. So this is the file. So when this type of programs are written in operating system level, they write these programs based on the requirements. Now, are you clear till here? That they write a DOS command programs or shell script programs to move the file to the backup directory and rename the file, change the backup. Your program will change the directory, rename the file and all that stuff. Now the question for us is, you have created the file, you have set up the file now, but how to execute in Informatica? This is OS level. We understand that this programming is at the OS level, but how to execute in Informatica is my question, which I am going to show you. Can you relog in? Please hold on. Shared drive, you keep on a shared drive or an Informatica server? Both are servers. Shared drive is also a server, Informatica is also a machine. And also we need in Informatica, why we keep on the same directory? Because you are working on that server and all that stuff. If you put it on a shared drive tomorrow, I have to log to that shared drive and ownership of that shared drive. This is where the politics will come into picture. Ownership of that shared drive. Who owns that? Informatica team will not own that shared drive, and sometimes they remove that shared drive. Their ownership will be an issue on that shared drive. So better we put on our servers only, because we have that ownership of that machine. So we know what is important for us and all. Shared drive will become open for all, and nobody takes the ownership. That is what happens in the real projects. Clear, Sita? Your option is good, but practically it won't work. Are you with me, Sita? Yasim, are you able to hear me? Yeah. Now, at the OS level, you have to write this program, operating system level programming, but how to execute this program from Informatica. So, how they do it? Now let us come to Informatica. When you created mapping, then to execute that mapping, what we said, we'll create a session. But there are other types of tasks called command task and email task. In the command task, using command task, you can execute shell scripts, you can execute Windows DOS commands in this command task of Informatica. So this command task is used to execute these type of commands or shell scripts or Windows scripts. So these are called command task. In this command task, you specify. You can write a command task here, or you can specify C:\inf server src files _ command task.dat file. So this you are assigning to that file which has the script. Then this will execute. Let us see. Just for your example, I'll remove this file. I'll delete this file from here. So to execute this, it should be part of the workflow. Just for an example sake, I'll create this workflow. So I created two tasks, one command task onto this, and let me execute this. Command task executes. Command task executes the files or commands. You can write it in that command task. So let's go to the backup directory. So this is the file. So this is the file it has executed. Moved, basically the command task executed that command task bat moved on to the directory. There is some problem in the programming to rename it and all, as I said before. But my agenda was to show you this command task when it executes the file which contains those commands, because we have specified the path. We have specified the path of that command task, so it will execute it. Now coming to our discussion point, we need to execute that command task from your case study 5 session. After case study 5 session is executed, that is extracted the data from the source integration server machine, then loaded into the staging table, and after that we have to execute this command task. We have to execute the command task. That is, after the session is completed, we have to execute this command task so that it will move the file. It will move the file. So how to do that? How to do that in Informatica? You can create a command task like this and put a session in this, that is case study 5 session, and link it one after another. This is called a sequential loading. You can link it like this. That is one way of doing it. So after this is executed, then this command task will get executed and moves the file. Or in the session properties of that mapping, Informatica provides you with an option called components. In this, there are 5 options. Pre-session command. If you assign that command task to pre-session, that means before you start, as soon as you execute the session, before it takes the data or extracts the data from the source, the command task will execute. Post-session success command means after the execution of the session is completed successfully, then you want to execute a command task. Post-session failure command means after the session is executed, if it failed, you want to execute some command task, then you set it up in these components of the session. So how you keep it up? You say right click and say reusable, then assign that command task. So our task will execute after the session is completed successfully. Then it will move the file into the backup directory, then rename the file. That's what it will do when you use this. You want to execute when the command task, depending on your requirement, you will set it up. So this is where you set it up in the components. And one more thing you will do is you can create a task, not only session but also email task. This is just a demonstration for you. Email on success, I name it. Then you write the properties. Whom should we send this to? To whom you want to send this? session success, some message, session 1 of dimension load successful. You may write it, whatever you want to write it. This is your email task on success. Another email task you may create it for email on failure. So if the session fails, you send me the mail. So you may set it up like this. So these are the tasks you create: email on success, email on failure. Then go to these components, assign those email tasks. You will assign those email tasks in this. So at runtime, if the session fails, that email task will be executed. If the session is successful, that email task will be executed. So this is the importance of your components of your session properties. Clear, everybody? Oh man. Okay. Error file. I'll get back to you about that error file attaching. Is there an option to attach an error file in the email? Oh. Yeah, I'll find out, Yasin. Because no, I don't have an idea. I'll let you know. I'll find out and get back to you on that. So this is your flat file. Now another option will be there in projects of this option. What we said, that they will extract the data from their file, from their system. This is your OLTP system source 1. And you provide them the integration service machine. That is our Informatica server. Yeah. So we asked them to put the file on our machine. So they have kept the file. In some requirements, this team S1 will say, we will not send you the file. We will not send you the file. But they have to generate. It is their responsibility to generate the file. We are not going to generate the file with the data. So they have to generate the file with the data, the source system people. And they will keep it on a particular path in their system. Now they will provide us the machine S1 IP address, or you call it as host name. Then they'll give the username, password, and path where they keep the file. That is the directory path where they keep the file. And they will ask us, integration server team, or Informatica team, or data warehouse team, to pick the file from their machine, not from. They will not going to give you the file. They will generate the file and keep it on their machine. Then what we do, from Informatica server, we will connect to that file, connects to the file, gets the data, how do we connect? We need to know the IP address. Then we'll pass on the username, password, and we'll go to that directory of that file. But how will we do that? We also use the same thing called file transfer protocol, which they used. This is reverse. We are using file transfer protocol so that we go and get the file from their machine. But for my session, how should it know that it has to go to that file and get the file from there? So in Informatica, what they do, is like relational connections, you create FTP connections. Like relational connections, you will create FTP connections. So I don't have this mechanism in my lab, so just I'm giving you the overview of it so that tomorrow when you go into the projects, you'll be able to understand it better. So username of that machine, host name or the IP address of that machine from where we are going to take the file, and the path name, default remote directory on their machine, INF files or whatever source files they may have it. So you specify their machine path. What is your requirement? First, I'll take Sita's question. It is in your project. It's a question or any information? I couldn't get you. That's why I'm asking. This is what you were looking for? Okay. In the real-time scenario, who will do it? You will do it. As the ETL consultant, you are going to do this. That's why I am doing this. So you give the path. You have to coordinate with the team of your client team. The source system people, you have to call them, you have to find them, they will coordinate with you with permissions, they have to be granted for you, and all with that username, password, you create FTP connection. Then, in the session properties of your mapping, till now you were giving the path only. Here, you say FTP, then give the connection information like relational connection. So when execute this session, because if it is FTP, it understands that the file should get from that machine. So using that FTP connection, it will go and connect to this machine. That is using the host name. It will go and connect to that S1 machine. Because we have given the IP address, just connecting will not give you the permission, so it will pass the username, password, and the path which you have specified, it will go there. And whatever file name is specified here, this is indirect. Indirect will work in a different way. So you will put that FTP in this and get that file onto this machine. If it is indirect, we will ask them to put the file. We will ask them to put the file. It is all convincing people. Either you FTP it or they FTP it. This is the option in Informatica to get the file from their machine also. But all in our experience, what we have seen is they will put the file here because it will be more faster because it is operating system level Unix programming. They write shell scripts to move the file faster. That's what our experience in the projects. But as a tool, Informatica provides you this option of FTP because in interview people may ask you, can you FTP the file? Can you get the file from their machine? Yes, use this FTP connection. Internal mechanism, Informatica will go and get the file onto that directory. This is what is the importance of your FTP connection. Everybody clear? Till here, please, till this FTP. Are you clear? On which platform you work, Sita? Retry period means sometimes they don't generate the file at 2 o'clock you scheduled it. So you may ask it to try a couple of times, 3-4 times. So at a time gap of 5-20 seconds or 1 minute, it will go and try that file. Generally what happens, the file should be generated and kept it at that particular location. On that particular day, they didn't keep the file, there was a delay. So we cannot fail the session. It has to try for a couple of times. Then you put 3 times or 4 times, or depending on your requirement. Then if it fails, if it is not able to see the file after 5 times, then the session will fail. This is how, when your source is a flat file, people will be working on. And whatever I discussed, all this of FTPing, program, shell script, all will be done in the production environment of the projects. All will be done in the production environment of the projects. Now, let us move from the flat file scenario. Now you have a source system or multiple source systems, and you have a staging area. So you extract the data from the staging and you start loading the data into the data mart or data warehouse. That is into your dimension tables and the fact tables. So we said, now just understand what we discussed in data warehouse concepts. When you have two source systems which cannot talk to each other, one is on Oracle, one is on Sybase, you can extract the data from both systems by writing a single select statement. Single SQL, you cannot write it. So what we do, as it is, we'll extract the data from these systems and load it onto your staging. And from staging, we load the data into the data mart. This is our business, which we discussed about intermediate area, why you create a staging area. When you have multiple source systems, they cannot talk to each other, they may be on different databases. So as it is, you bring it to one staging area tables. Now please observe and understand the concept which I am going to discuss. In projects, what happens? There are 3 phases in projects: general development, test, and production phase of the project. So now you did your development phase, you completed your test phase, now you have to go into production phase of the project. Then there will be a go live date. For any project, go live date. Let us assume December 16th is the go live date. Please observe it very carefully, understand it. December 16th, 2008 is the go live date for the project of your data warehouse. That is, end users will access, generate reports on your data warehouse. That is where they use actual usage of the project. So end users will put the data mart. This is the scenario. So what they do in projects, let's say your testing is completed. I discussed this UAT thing in my implementation methodology of the projects. User acceptance test is completed, let's say on December 1st or December 2nd. As per the project plan, they'll keep 10-12 days gap between the testing and actual usage of data warehouse projects. Testing is completed. Now the data in your source systems, transactions are there from 2005 to till date. Till date means in the OLTP system. Till date means till that time, that date and time. Example, it will contain data from 1/1/2005. Today, what is the date? December 3rd, 2008. Till this time, whatever the transaction happened will be there in this OLTP systems, and you can access those transactions. But you have a challenge of generating analytical reporting and all that stuff. So as till date means as of now, whatever is happening in the source system, you can see it. Like your bank, not money transfer, but as soon as you put in, you can see the balance and all that stuff. You go to the bank, take the money out, the transaction happens, you can see it. At that point of time, what happened. But when it comes to data warehouse projects, generally, if the end users are seeing the data on December 2008, 16th 2008, they will have data as per their requirement. They will tell us. We'll ask them from which date you want it. Let's say they say from 1/1/2005 to till date. In data warehouse projects, till date means 1/1/2005 to, if it is daily grain level, till date means till yesterday. Till 1/1/2005 to December 15th 2008. So on 16th December, when I access my reporting system, it should contain till December 15th 2008, whatever transactions happen in this system. So if your date is December 16th, for example, on December 16th at 2 a.m. 2008 at 9 a.m., you are accessing the system. What will be the data in the source system? It will contain 1/1/2005 to December 16th 2008 till 9 a.m. Whatever transaction happened, are happening in the source system. But you will see the data in your data warehouse on December 16th, 1/1/2005 to December 15th. That is still yesterday. It will have the data. So, for example, an employee joined on 15th December. That a transaction will be there in the source system. But if employee joined on, the transaction happened on 16th December, you can see this transaction in your data warehouse only on December 17th, because you will go and load the data into 16th. So in a data warehouse, you will have data till yesterday. There are people talking about near to real time and all that stuff, but I'm talking in a general sense. This is what happens in a data warehouse project. So till yesterday, you will see the data in your data warehouse. Now, transactions are happening in the source system regularly. Your UAT has been completed on December 2nd. Now you have to build it, make this production box ready, because the end users will be going to see the data, start analyzing the reports and all from December 16th, 2008. Production environment. You should make it ready, like a shop opening. When you have a business, you will fix a date and you start ready to make it ready for that shop to be ready on that particular date. That is the day you open it. That is what you call it as go live date. So to go live, what we need, we already created Informatica mappings in our testing environment. Business objects reports, for example, your database of your staging and all that stuff will be moved on to the production box. They create the tables, they move the Informatica program, they remove the business object reports and all that stuff. They'll move those programs onto this production environment of the project. Then they should make ready for production, make it ready for December 16th, go live date. Make it ready for December 16th, go live date. They have to make it ready. So what they do, when you say make it ready, means your data warehouse or data mart should contain the transactions which happened from 1/1/2005 to December 15th, 2008. So what you do, using your Informatica mappings, you extract the data from the source systems, load it into staging. From staging, you load it into your dimension and fact tables. So this 5, 6, 7, 3.5 years, almost 4 years of data. You will extract, load into the staging to data mart. That whole process, huge data process, so it may take 7 to 8 days. So they will take a buffer time and all that stuff. So they move everything into the data warehouse projects. That whole data will be moved. No logic change. Only the data will be extracted, loaded into staging. From staging, you load the data warehouse. Some may be a CD1, some may be a CD2. So first you load the dimension, then you load the fact table. All this you do it, but you will manually do it. Manually in the sense, you control that environment. You will stop and load it, stop and load it, stop and load it in intervals into your data mart. So this loading of data to make the data warehouse or data mart ready for go live date. Ready for go live date. This type of loading is called first time load or initial load or history load. The terminology they use. So to make your go live date on that day, you make it ready for your go live date. So you start extracting the data, load staging, then staging to dimensions and fact tables. You do that process. You may call it as trial run or whatever you want to call it as. But you have to make it ready. Trial run will be done in the testing environment, sorry. Now you are into production, so you start loading into staging to data mart. You load the data, then you test the reports. Is it coming right or wrong? You test your Informatica mappings and all that stuff in this first time load or initial load or history load. That is, you make your data warehouse ready for go live date. That whole process of extracting from source system, loading into staging, from staging you load into data mart and data warehouse to make it ready for the go live date. This loading process is called first time load or initial load or history load. History load in the perspective of loading, not in the perspective of data warehouse, historical data and all. That we are not correlating to that, please. This is loading process. So you load it, then you test yourself, internal test. You ask client to test and all, make it ready for December 16. So on December 16, if you have 100 user community to access it, they will send them the mail, then they start using the data warehouse to generate their reports. So to ensure that the go live data is ready, that loading process is called first time load or initial load or history load. Are you with me? Is it clear for you? The way what we call it as first time load or initial load or history load. This is all is done in the production environment of the project, please. This all strategy is on the production environment of the project. What Asim, are you clear? I don't think so. I should ask you. Asim, are you there? Okay, fine. Now this is first time load. Now you loaded the data. Please understand it very carefully and very clearly, please. Now, on December 16, project has gone live. Now, please understand very carefully. Please understand it from your OLTP system. Dates are very important now. Dates 1/1/2005 to December 16, 2008. Data is there in your OLTP system. I'm talking about project went live at 11 a.m. If you see the data, OLTP system transaction happening, like lifestyle, Walmart, people are buying the things. So transactions are happening. But the data warehouse will have data from 1/1/2005 to December 15th, 2008. That data only will be there in data warehouse. So if end user want to see the data on December 16th data, what has happened, he cannot see it on December 16th. If you remember the load window concept, we will schedule a time to extract the data from the source system and load the data. They'll give you a load window. Let's say every day at 11 p.m. you can access the source system. That is what is called the load window, access the source system or systems. At that time only, from a data warehouse perspective, from a ETL perspective I'm talking, at that time only you can access the OLTP system to extract the data from the source and load the data into the target, into staging or data warehouse, whatever your requirement is. So this point is very important. On December 16th, when the end users are accessing at any given point of time on December 16th, they can see only 1/1/2005 to December 15th, 2008 only. They cannot see 16th day transaction, which is happening in the source system. So next day, that is December 16th at 11 p.m. in the night, they will give you the access. So you extract the data and load it into staging. From staging, you load the data into data warehouse or data mart. Now, please understand, at 11 p.m. on December 16th, 2008, they gave us the access to extract the data from the source. So my question is, we will extract the data from the source transactions from 1/1/2005 to December 16th, 2008 data. Are you going to extract? Or option B, will you extract only December 16th, 2008 transactions, that is, which are created on 16th, 2008, created or modified? Which data you will extract again now? Will you extract the complete data? Option A, I'm talking about December 6th at the night, 11 p.m. load window, they gave the access to extract the data from your source system. So which data you will extract? Option A or option B? Which one you will choose? So we will choose option B, because already the data till December 15th, 2008 is already existing in my data warehouse. So I have to extract from 1/1/2005 to December 16th, only December 16th data, because if an employee joined on December 15th, that data is already there in my source, in my data warehouse. Why should I reload that data? I need to load only December 16th, 2008 data into my target. I need to load only December 16th, 2008 data into my target table, not on the transactions which happened before, because it is already existing in my data warehouse. So which data I will extract? I will extract only the data of the transactions which happened on December 16th, 2008. So I will extract the data from the source, the data which was created or modified on December 16th. That means I will extract the data from the source which is not existing in my data warehouse or in my data mart. The data which is not existing in the data warehouse or data mart but existing in my source system, that data only I will extract from my source system. That data only I will extract the data from my source system. That type of extraction and loading the data is called incremental loading. So you extract only December 16th data and load it into staging. From staging, you load it into data warehouse. Next day, you extract only December 17th data. Like that, you load only incremental loading strategy. Only the incremental, only the data which was modified or created in the source system, that data only you take it after you went live. This is called incremental loading. After you went live, every day or every month, whatever your load pattern is, the transaction which happened in your source systems, but which is not existing in your data warehouse or in data mart, that data only you will extract and load it into staging. From staging, you load the data into dimension tables and fact tables. This type of loading is called incremental loading in projects. This type of loading is called incremental loading. Are you with me? Is it clear, the concept? How to implement in Informatica, which we are going to discuss. Now, so this is called incremental loading strategy. Now in interview, they will ask you a question. You say, I need a staging area because two source systems cannot talk to each other, more than one source system. So I need an intermediate area called staging. Now interviewer will ask you a question. Vijay, okay, but if I have a single source system only, still do I need a staging? Still, do I need a staging? So, in my opinion, I need a staging. Why? I will explain you now. Now you have a source system, single source system. Let's say you have to load into one dimension table, data coming from these 5 tables. In the source system, it is coming from 5 tables, and you have to load into one dimension table. Understand it very carefully. I don't have a staging area. Now this source system contains data from 1/1/2005 to December 16, 2008. And in this dimension table, I loaded data from 1/1/2005 to December 15, 2008. Now I need to extract data from the source. Sorry about that. Now December 16th, 2008. What we said, as per our incremental loading strategy, we will extract only the data of transactions which are created or modified on December 16th transactions. We'll extract. We don't have a staging area. We'll extract that. So you have data in 5 tables. You need to load data into this customer dimension table or whatever it is. But which data you need to extract from this table? So if it is on 5 tables, to extract data from 5 tables, you need to join them. You have to join those 5 tables. Like table 1 dot column 1 is equal to table 2 dot column 2, and table 2 dot column 2 is equal to table 3 dot column 3, and table 3 dot column 3 is equal to table 4 dot column 4, and the table 4 dot column 4 is equal to table 5 dot column 7, whatever. Because you are extracting data from multiple tables, so you have to join all the tables. Then again you say what? And table 1 dot created date is equal to greater than or equal to greater than 15th December. And table 2 created date or modified date is greater than 15th December 2008. And table 3 dot created date or modified date, transaction date on which the transaction happened, it should be there in the source system. If it is not there, then this concept will not work. So greater than 15th December 2008, and table 5 dot created date is greater than 15th December 2008. Because you want only 16th data, so you write this query on the source system. Observe the data very carefully. Observe the requirement. What the join condition will do? It will scan. Table to table scan will be done. First, this column is equal to this column is equal to. When you write a query, it will scan the whole table. If you join like this, first it will join all the 5 tables. You have 3 years to 4 years of data in the source system. So it will scan all the 4 years of data in those tables by joining them. After that join, then they will write 15th December. So for each table, it will scan only for 15th December data, then scan the other table for 15th December. Are they equal or not, greater than 15th December? So what it will do a table scan. It will do a table scan, complete table scan of this. So on a 4 years of data, you are taking out only, from 4 years of data, you are trying to take out 1 day data from multiple tables. So what it will do, it will scan the whole database. Whole database means all the tables which are in the join condition and all the stuff. So it will take longer and longer time. It will take longer and longer time to scan on a 4 years of tables, joining all 5 tables and doing all these things. It will be a challenge. Do you agree with me? The challenge. Sita Rupali. So what we do? Rather than putting like this, we will create an intermediate area, which we call it as a staging area. We'll extract the data from this table as it is into these tables. We'll extract. For those 5 tables, we'll write 5 programs. Select from table 1, where C1.CDate is greater than 15th December 2008, and load it into the staging table. Extract load greater than 15th December 2000. So on a single table, what it will do, this select statement, it will fire, and it will scan the table, but it will take only 15th December data and puts it in table 1 of your staging. Like that, it will have total 5 programs we will write, because there are 5 tables, and we load the data into the staging area, which will have only the data of 16th December 2008 in your staging area in the 5 tables. Then whatever you want to join, you join them. Joining is as per your business requirement, you have to join. But when you join the tables in the 5 staging area, the staging tables will contain only 1 day data, not 4.5 to 4 years completed data. On 1 day data, you scan them. Table scan will be done for only 1 day data. Then it will extract, transform, and load the data from your staging area to dimension table. On 1 day data, it will scan rather than 4 years data. Now you load the data into your dimension table. Now dimension table contains 1/2005 to December 16, 2008. Where I am doing incremental loading, I will be doing at the staging area, source to staging area. So I greater than 15 December and load the data into the staging table. Next day what happens? In the source system, you have data of 1/2005 to next day transaction, December 17th, 2008. So at 11 p.m. 2008, December 17th, you have to extract the data from the source system because you have the load window there. Which data you will extract from here? You will extract only the transactions which happened on December 17th, 2008. That transaction only you will take it and you load it into the staging. Before you load the data into staging, you delete the data, previous data. Why you will delete? Because it is 16th data which is already processed by the second ETL program. Then you delete it, then you load the 17th data. This is called incremental loading. So You load it into staging, and from staging you load into the dimensions and fact table. So even if you have a single source system, you need a staging area for your strategy of incremental loading. If you have multiple source systems, one reason is these systems cannot talk to each other, so you need a staging area. Here also you need a staging area because for your incremental loading. Here also, even if it is multiple source system, we will do the incremental loading for this system also. Clear about the strategy for why you need an incremental loading, please? Why you need a staging even if it is a single source system and all that stuff. Are you clear, please? So how to implement in Informatica? So we have discussed till now about flat file as a sources, how they do it, why they write the command task, execute the task commands or shell scripts from Informatica operating system level program, then FTP, then first time load concept, then incremental loading strategy. Now, let us come to discussion point of how to implement this incremental loading strategy in my mapping. How to implement incremental loading strategy in my mappings. Now, understand it very carefully. We will extract the data from the source customer table and load the data into the staging customer table. Here what we will do is we will create one table with your ID underscore customer table for all of you. I'll call this as case study 13. I will ask Sujay to create it for you. What I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to discuss now. The source system of my database. Please hold on for a minute. Let me discuss with Sujay. Now, let me give you the scenario and then we'll discuss this thing. Now you have a source system. Select start from backup customer. I have kept a backup customer table which has a data in it. It has 2 days of data. Okay. Now what we are going to do in the lab is, in the requirement is, for everybody, please write it down. I don't have a sheet for this. I have only a sheet for this. It is a sheet like this. Let me check it up, please. Hold on for a minute. Please hold on for a minute, please. Yeah, thank you. So I haven't given anything there, but in this sheet, you please write down your notes. We'll create one mapping called case study 13. So the business requirement is we have one table called your ID underscore customer table. For everybody, you have a table called your ID underscore customer, and you need to load the data into STG customer table. Okay. We will do incremental loading. The source is X underscore customer table and STG underscore customer. So for me it is customer table which is already created for me, and STG is already created. So mapping create case study M underscore case study 13 for STG customer. Put it as INCL just for a understanding. Please write down in the notes, please. I don't have a note separately for this. So case study 13 STG customer incremental. Source is your DEV underscore source customer table. For you, it is ID underscore customer table. For you, it is ID underscore customer table. For me, target is STG customer. For you also, target is STG customer table. Transformation create, expression, best practice. I'll keep the data from the source system and load the data into my target table. I'll put it on transaction date. I'll tell you why I kept transaction date later. So this is your mapping. You are going to extract the data from the source your ID underscore customer table and load the data into STG customer table. Now understand the logic which I am going to talk now. Very important in the projects, in the jobs, people talk about it and how Informatica does. Let us assume in the customer table you have 10th January data. Now you extract it for your load window concept. You extracted this data from the source and you have loaded the data into your staging table. I'm talking about these concepts, please. You extract the 16th January data and load it into staging. Then the second mapping will take from staging and load the data into the dimension table. Next day, in the source system, what happened? 11th January data has been inserted. It may be Java technology or HTML or OL or forms or whatever it is. In the OLTP system, transactions are happening. So, 2 transactions happened in your source system. Then you extract the data of 11th January from your source. That is the record which was created or modified. How will I know which record was created or modified? I have a field called transaction date. Based on that field, I know that record is being created or modified. Based on that, I will know the record is created or modified on which date it was created or modified. So 11th January data, I will extract it. Before I load the data, I delete the data in my staging customer table and insert into the staging table. And I insert into the staging table. So what happens? This is called incremental. You are taking only the data which is required. Next day, 12th January, transaction happened in your source system. Then you extract the data from the source. That is 12th January data. Before you load, you delete the data in the staging. Then you insert the 12th January into the staging table. So, before you load the data into the staging, you have to delete previous data. That is what our requirement in the staging load. So what I do in Informatica mapping, which you have done previously, the same thing I am doing here. in pre-SQL, I'll write delete from stg underscore customer, semicolon. So delete from stg underscore customer is your table. So you deleted it. In Informatica, you deleted it. So you said delete. Please observe it. Now, from Informatica perspective, from our perspective, 10th January data has been loaded into your customer table. Now you are going to extract it. How will you extract only 10th January data? What are we going to do in Informatica? I'm coming to Informatica now. How are we going to extract data in Informatica? How are we going to extract data from source? For that transaction, based on the transaction date of 10th January data from your source, I have to extract it, then load it into my staging table. Before I load, I will delete it, delete the data in the staging, that is the previous data in my understanding. You have to do it. So to delete the data from staging, we have done, we have set up the issue. Now we have to extract the data of 10th January data from my source system. If it was your Informatica, what will you do to extract the data of 10th January 2005? Anybody can answer it. How are we going to extract 10th January data from Informatica perspective? What we will do to extract the data of 10th January 2005? Anybody? I have created the mapping. Now from this mapping I need to extract. When I execute it, it should extract the 10th January data 2005, which is there in my source system. How will I extract the 10th January data? Are you able to hear me? Okay, where will we write that condition? No. Expression will transform the data, calculate, minus and all. How will you extract 10th January data? In the source qualifier. So in the source qualifier, what we do, we say generate SQL where transaction date is greater than 09 January 2005. So at runtime, this will fire and extract me the 9th January data 2005. At runtime, so you will get 10th January data, you load it into your staging customer table. Next day, 11th January data has been added. Next day, what you do, you go to your source qualifier, change it to 10th January 2005. No, we will know the date. We have to know the date. You cannot have this date because someday it may be Sunday. You are not going to extract it. It is a holiday, so you cannot say this date. Are you with me, Sita? We should know the date. We will know the date. Requirement will be there. Yeah, every day. That's what I am discussing now. The strategy. So next day what happened? 10th January data you have to extract. So you go manually to the source qualifier transformation and say 10th January and execute the session. So it will say greater than 10th January data like this. It will be fired on the source system and it will get you the 11th January data. Before you get it, you delete the data and load 11th January data. Next day, in the source system, 12th January data has been inserted in the source system. How it will be inserted? By Java programs or front-end screens. Now, what you do? You need to extract the data which is greater than 10th January, that is your 11th January, greater than. So when you say 11th January greater than, then you load it. So every day, daily load, you go and change this transaction date. You go and change this transaction date. So every day that data will come and you load the data. Before you load, you delete the previous data in the staging table. Are you with me now? So you know the date. So you put the date in the source qualifier transformation. Go to the database, check what is the date in it. You put it in the source qualifier, it will extract and load. Extract, and every day you are going to do it. Now the question comes here is, in production, you cannot change the date daily by yourself. You will not have the permission to change the date. One time, first time you can do it, but every time you cannot change the date. Production system will not allow it. So what you should do? You should automize it. You should automize it. Automation has to be done. Automation has to be done. You cannot, in production daily, you go to the source qualifier and change it. So our requirement now is, we are clear that in the source qualifier transformation, the date has to be changed after every load so that it will take the data. Now, let us go back a step back again. Let us discuss one more thing. In place of, what did you do in the select statement of your source qualifier? In the select statement of your source qualifier, you said where transaction date is greater than, you are hard coding it. You are hard coding it yourself, like this in your source qualifier, where transaction date is greater than 9/1/2005, so it will extract 10. Next day, you are putting 10. Then next day, you have to put 11. Like this, you have to do it. So, one way of doing it in Informatica is, please observe very carefully the process. 3 steps only you do it in Informatica, but understand the logic very carefully how Informatica does. So, customer inserted into the source system 10th January. Now you are extracting greater than 9th January 2005 and you are loading the data into the staging. Before you load, you delete the data. So you loaded the data of 10th January. Informatica does row by row process, but it will extract the complete data once and observe the data very carefully. You have extracted the data where greater than 9th January 2005 and you loaded into the staging. Next day what you will say? Greater than what you will say? Everybody. Next day what you will say in the I'll do automation in few minutes. Next day in the source qualifier for transaction date should be greater than what we will say next day. In the source qualifier, what you will say? What you will put it there? Manually, if you want to put it, what date you will put it there? It should be 10th January 2005. First day you loaded 9. Second day you should say 10th January 2005. You look at it from a different perspective now. You put 10th January 2005 next day, or look at it from a different perspective. You will say greater than this date, which has been loaded into the staging. So in my previous load, whatever data I put it in my staging, greater than that, I will extract next time. Greater than that, I will extract next time. Look at it from a different angle. I will extract the data next time greater than that. Greater than 10th January 2005. Observe it very carefully. So, in the source system, you have the 11th January data. Now, in the source qualifier, you will say greater than what? 10th January, or greater than what was previously loaded, maximum date, greater than maximum date loaded in my staging customer table. What was the maximum date loaded in my staging customer table? Greater than that, I will say 10th January 2005. So it will extract 11th January data and load. Next time when I execute it, I will say greater than what? Which was loaded previously. Which was loaded previously, greater than that I will say in my source qualifier. Are you with me please? Greater than what I was loaded in my, what was loaded in my staging table. In staging table by the previous load. Are you with me please? Look at it from a different perspective, different angle. You have already loaded into staging. Next time, which one you want to extract greater than what is already loaded. Clear, Rupali? So, one aspect of it. So, how to do it? Informatica provides you with a mechanism called mapping variables. Let us discuss very carefully. There are local variables in a programming. What are those local variables mean? Like you declared count. For any variable, you have to initialize. So count is 0. Then you write in a loop. Then you say count is equal to count plus 1. You put it in a loop. So first iteration, what it will happen for the first iteration? If you're not understanding, please ask. 0 plus 1, then it will become 1. That count is initialized. Second iteration, what it will do? It will take this 1 and put it as your count. Previous value it will remember and make it 2. Third iteration, 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Like this it will happen. Now program is completed, executed, over. Next time when you execute the program, next time when you execute this program, again count will start at 0 only. Count will start at 0. So it is only for that program, for that instance only. These are called local variables. And there is a concept called global variables. What is global variables? They remember previous values, but for previous action also. Previous execution. From previous execution, they will carry forward. Let us take count. I declare this as a global variable, initialized to 0. So count, how it will work. If it is a global variable, count is equal to count plus 1. So first iteration, what will happen? 0 plus 1, 1. In the loop, then in the second iteration, what it will do? 1 plus 1, is equal to 2. Then third iteration, 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Program execution completed. Next time when you execute it, for the first iteration, what will be the value? Next execution, it will be 3 plus 1. This 3, which was last one, will be stored somewhere in the program. Next time when you execute it, it will start at 3, then 4 plus 1, 5, then 5 plus 1, 6, then session completed, so it will store that value for count as 6. This is called global variables. That is the difference between a local and a global variable. With that in your mind, Informatica also have what we call it as a mapping variable. This is just 4-step scenario, please, but please understand it. Very carefully you have to understand this logics and all. Now, let me go back to step 1 again. I have inserted the data in the source system of 10th January 2005. How does it happen in the lab? Please write down the select statement first. In the lab, please write down the select statement. Insert into your ID. You insert this. There is a backup table which has 2 days of data. Because practically I cannot do it in the lab perspective, you insert from the backup table 10th January data into your X_customer table. Everybody, please write it down. Insert into your ID_customer, select start from backup customer where transaction date is equal to 10th January 2005. Are you done? When you go to the lab, you have to do this. So in our case, are you done, please? Then I will go and insert in my source table. So I insert into my customer table. For me, it is customer table. 10th January data, committed. So select star from customer table. So how many records it has? 5,883 records it has. Select distinct transaction date from customer table. So it has 10th January data. So this is 10th January data in my source system. The OLTP system in project, some Java program, some front-end screens will be there to insert the data. So they have inserted 10th January data. So first time I'm going to extract the data from 10th January data. So what I do, instead of putting this in the where clause, this date, I will declare a variable. I will declare. How to do it in Informatica, I will tell you. I will declare a variable, which they call it as mapping variable. Where to declare, how to declare, I will tell you. So this is a mapping variable. I will declare it as a variable called tDate variable. I will declare a variable, tDate variable, and I initialize this. What is initialized to? 01/09/2005. The variable. And in the source qualifier transformation, I will, instead of putting the date, I'll put the variable value in the source qualifier transformation. So I declared a variable. Variable contains this value. I'll put it in a source called file transformation key date variable. So when you execute it, in place of 9th January data, in place of 9th January data, 9th January, I have used a mapping variable, key date variable. So at runtime, this key date variable value will come into this. Instead of the variable, it will be 09/2005. So at runtime, when it fires the query, it will extract 9th January, greater than 9th January data, so 10th January. Now you load the data. Informatica does load row by row. The next logic, please. Row by row. So next time when you execute it, what we discussed, it should be greater than this date. It should be greater than this date. That one should be updated to your mapping variable. So first record is loaded. Then with some mechanism, I'll compare that T date variable with this transaction date. I'll compare. How Informatica internally does, I will tell you later. So I'll compare. My T date variable is 09 January 2005. T date is, this value is 10. I'll compare whichever is maximum. I'll take it up. The maximum is 10. Next record is inserted. I'll compare both and 10. So maximum I'll take it. Session completed. When the session is completed, internally, this 10th January 2005 date, I'll go and change this mapping variable value to T date variable to 10th January 2005 and store it in my Informatica server. I'll store it in my Informatica server. I update it. I'll compare the previous and the current. For that, Informatica provides you with a function called setMax variable. So it will compare the functionality of this mapping T date variable, and it will compare with the T date variable and transaction date of that field, compares it. Whichever is the maximum, it will take it up. And finally, the last maximum value which is there, that will be stored in your Informatica server. So your mapping variable contains now what? It has been initialized. Now it has been updated to 10 January 2005. So next day, in the source system, 11th January data has been inserted. How to do it practically in this mappings? After you execute the session, you insert 11th January data. So your source system will contain 10th and 11th January data. Now you execute it. Now your mapping variable contains, please observe it, your mapping variable contains 10th 2005. So in this place you have the mapping variable. So greater than 2005, so it will extract only 11th January data. Delete the previous data. So while loading the data into it, row by row Informatica will load. I'll compare this mapping variable value to this transaction date with a function called the setMax variable. Whichever is the maximum, it will set row by row. It will look into it, and final value will be stored in your Informatica variable updated, which will be updated to 01/11/2005. That is the value this is stored. So next time when you execute your mapping, contains 12th January data. Practically in lab I don't have. I have only 2 days of data. So 12th January, instead of this 11th January, you put the mapping variable in it. So while loading the data into it, when you load row by row, you will calculate. A lot of people get confused this mapping variable I am changing to 12th January row when I am comparing it. A lot of people say, what happened to this? The issue is this is already extracted. Already after extraction, we are modifying the mapping variable. After extracting the data only, we are modifying the mapping variable, please. Before extracting, we are not changing the mapping variable value. After extracting, we are making it ready for the next run. Are you with me, please? Are you with me with the logic? How to do it in Informatica, I will show you in 2 minutes. With me of the logic of comparing from the source and the mapping while loading into the staging table. So, how to implement in Informatica is my agenda now. So, how to do it in Informatica? How to define any variable in this world? First, you have to Informatica provides you with a variable concept called mapping variable. This value can change during the session. You can modify this value while the session is running, and you can save that value in the repository at the end of the session is completed, successfully completed. Then you can reuse it. Next time you run the session, you can use that value. For that purpose, you will use mapping variable. How to create mapping variable in this is mapping parameters and variables. Mapping parameters and variables. Give a name $$, mapping variables or any variables which are defining it at the system level. You have to define by $$ symbol. You have to define by $$ symbol. If Informatica defines by itself, it will be single dollar. If you observe your session here, log file will be at $PM. That is Informatica while installing. If it indicates any variables or any values, then it will show by $$. If we define it at the Informatica level, this mapping variables, parameters and all, it should be represented by $$ symbol. So I name this as tDate variable, date time, initialize. What is our initial value? 01/09/2005. The syntax for this is, in Informatica, when you declare the variable, the syntax is mm/dd/yyyy. So you define the mapping variable at a tDate variable. You initialize this, set up this value, validate it. That is, now you should use that mapping variable in your source qualifier. How to use it? Properties. You should say where. You generate SQL, then you write where clause, where transaction date is greater than single quotes. It should be single quotes, please remember this. It should be in single quotes, $tDate variable. Where is that variable? These are quotes, these are variables. Under this you will have this mapping variable, $tDate variable, $tDate variable in the single quotes. So at runtime, first time when you execute it, it will replace with 9th January 2005, so it will extract the data. But our next step of intention is, we have to calculate that date, mapping variable, change that mapping variable. For that, in the expression transformation, the process I am telling you, please remember now. In Informatica, at the expression level, you create one port. I call it as tDate mapping variable, date and time. This should be variable port, please. Variable port remembers the previous value, previous record value it will remember. Like what we discussed is this count plus 1, previous value it will remember. 3 plus, sorry, here it should be 4. So it will remember previous value, please. That's why you use variables. In Informatica also, in the expression transformation, you put this as a variable port to remember the previous value. Then how to calculate, how to set that maximum value is under variables, set max variable. Comparison variables, $tDate variable, comma, with which field you are comparing, that is the functionality. So which variable you are comparing, with that you have to write this functionality. Set max variable, $T date variable, comma transaction date. Comparison, that it will compare this value to that value. Whichever is maximum, it will goes on setting. Informatica does row by row process. It goes on setting. After the session is completed, whatever the final value is there, that will be stored in the Informatica integration server machine. That's all. Only 3 steps you have to do. So you have to define the mapping variable, $T date variable in the where clause under single quotes. Under single quotes, you have to define the mapping. You have to set the mapping variable in this. That is $T date variable. In the expression, create a variable port. In that you write this $T date variable, comma transaction. That will get you the data into this. Please write down these notes. I will execute it and show it to you, but before that, is it clear, everybody? This is the only mapping you have to do today, but more of explanation was done because actually this explanation of incremental loading strategy and all, we used to do it in data warehouse concepts, but there, I have a sincere question for you. This, if I would have explained in your data warehouse concepts, and I would have just given an overview and started doing this, will it be okay? Or the way we have explained the whole thing, that is okay? A, should I explain incremental? I have a question for you, please. For A, option A, explain the first time load and incremental load at data warehouse concepts. Then do the mapping here. Or option B. This is good? Okay, fine. But it takes longer time, that's the problem. But we'll have only one mapping, so anybody can do it, I think. Even if it was a bit late, I completed it because tomorrow if I skip, a lot of people will again get confused. That's the reason I am doing it at this bit stretch here. Now, you have done writing this, right? For your explanation purpose, I'll do it once again, this mapping, 13 case study of mapping variable of STG customer. Just for your discussion sake, how they do it and all. You haven't done it? Okay. Please do it. I'll be back in a minute, okay then? Now I'll do the mapping for you. Source. I'll take the customer. For you it is your ID underscore customer. Create transformation best practice expression. That's the reason I put transaction date. And that you are doing the mapping variable. So I'll put this one back into my expression transformation. Then I'll get my target table. That is STG customer. Then the transaction date, target table properties, delete from STG customer, and you say OK, OK, arrange all iconic, save your work. Then how to define mapping variable, mapping, parameters and variables. And here you define the mapping variable. It should be in $ symbol, T date, variable, date and time, initialize 01/09/2005, mapping, parameters and variables, variable, date and time, initialize, one step. Go to source qualified transformation, generate SQL, write where clause, where transaction date is greater than single quotes variables, where you define the mapping variables. Click on it, you say OK. Then go to expression transformation, create one port, which I call it a T-date variable port, mapping variable. Make it date time, but it should be variable port. Then in this you write set max variable. Variables are here, T-date variable, comma, ports, transaction date. That's all you do. And you save your mapping. Arrange all iconic. Clear, everybody? Then I will execute this. Edit. I don't have the sessions and all that stuff for this. So you have to create your own self. Task, create session, s_, mapping name, case study 13. Double click, mapping, source is your DEV SRC SP14. Target is DEV STG SB14. Say OK. Workflow, close, case study 13. Save your work. Before this, everybody write a note here. First delete the data in my your ID underscore customer table. First delete it. Then write that insert statement which I have given you, and insert 10th January 2005 data into this. Commit it. If you forget commit, then it will be a problem. So you commit it. Source system contains 10th January data only. Now I'll execute this mapping. Start the workflow. Case study 13. It has to delete the data in the staging table and load the data into this. Succeeded. So let us go to the staging database. Select star from STG customer table. Select distinct transaction date from STG customer table. It has 10th January data. What is that mapping variable? What is that value it stored? If you want to see it, go to the log file. In the end of your log file, it will set this date. What was the date in the staging table? 10th January. That is set in the mapping variable. In the log file, you can see it, or you can see in the workflow. Go to the session, right click and say view persistent values. You say view persistent values. You say view persistent values. It will show you what it is stored in the Informatica server repository, where it will store this in the repository. That value. Don't set reset values, please. So it will set to 10th January 2005 in your Informatica. Are you with me, please? Then go back to your database, insert 11th January data to check for yourself, commit it. So in the source, you have 10th and 11th January. Now if you execute this, it should extract only 11th January data from your source system and load it into the staging. Before loading, it should delete the data in the staging. So let's go to the staging. Select staging table, 11th January, it has loaded. If you open your log file, then go down, it should show you 11th January as the value of your mapping variable for the next run. Or if you open your workflow and in this view persistent value, it should show 11th January, ready for the next run. This is how you create a mapping variable. Same thing, I will ask Sujay to create. Please note down a big point here. I'm talking about case study 14 also. Same thing, same functionality, same thing you have to do. You do it with the same thing, okay? This is a global variable, madam. Answer to your question? Yes. Please listen, please focus. For practice purpose, what we will do, we will have another table called STG sales transaction. For that also, I'll ask Sujay to create your table, your ID underscore STG. Please write down notes for this case study 14. For case study 14, same thing, you do it. For case study 14, same thing, only the table will be case study 14, same thing. The source table will be your ID underscore STG source sales underscore transaction. Load it into STG sales underscore transaction. And the query for that is insert into X underscore sales underscore transaction, select from backup sales transaction table. This is the query for that table, please. In the backup sales transaction table, you have a lot of data, 7 days data, I think. This is case study 14. Practice. For practice, this is case study 14, please. So please write down this query. For case study 15 also, we have the same thing for practice purpose. First you do this to 15 anyway, I'll discuss tomorrow. So case study 13 and 14. For 13 and 14 are same, tables are different. Insert into your ID underscore sales underscore transaction table. Select start from backup sales transaction where transaction date is equal to 10th January 2005. So please remember this. So you create another case study 14, same functionality you do, but the source table is your ID underscore sales transaction. Load it into STG sales transaction. With this, I am done for today. Same notes, you have to write it for case study 14, please. Same notes I am talking about. You have to write it for case study 14. Have you written this query, please? It has 10th January to 16th January data. You can test it multiple times. But if the session fails, you have to recreate the mapping variable. If the session fails, you have to recreate the mapping variable. You have to recreate the mapping variable with a new name. If it fails and it updates and all that stuff, you have to recreate. You have to recreate the mapping variable, please, with a new name. Because you cannot change the value in a mapping variable because it is stored in the repository of Informatica. You cannot change. You cannot change value of mapping variable because it is stored in the repository. With this, I am done for today. Are you okay? Before I go, do you have any questions? Huge concept, beautiful concept, very great concept. I am telling you, it is 3 steps only for you, but a lot of people fumble in this strategies, and this is what I share my knowledge. People call what Vijay Paul, what do you mean by sharing of your knowledge? Means this is what I call it as sharing of knowledge. You don't get it in textbooks or anything like that. What this comes over a period of experience and your career, what you grow and all that stuff. So this is what I share. Please take it. Happily you take it, the knowledge, but use it with care. Use it whenever you require it. Don't use it for something else. Before I call it a day, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions, please? Relax, understand it, do this mapping. 2 mappings you do, you may fail, try to do it multiple times, you will get the concept very clear. With this I am done. Okay then, bye. Have a nice day. Okay. I'll transfer this to Mr. Sujay. He will take care from this.